I get a lot of these intuition things, and they pay off. I mean, they pay off. I've scared off people who acted like they was about to jump me and rob me, and then I've scared off people who looked exactly like those people just by hearing their footsteps and having a millisecond thought, and all sorts of stuff. And I go along with stuff, so bad things happen. But I can't always not go along with things. Like if I get surrounded by certain groups, I can't just like lob all their heads off at once. Or I don't have the mental capacity right now to believe I can do that, so I can't do it. But I was thinking about why the media is so limited and censored, and so I started seeing things happening around me in the world, like enveloping. My thoughts have been developing the world around me, and I'm like right away, like I'm intelligent enough to know I'm far from out there crazy. I'm whatever else crazy and psychotic they want to say they are. Depending on the day. I mean, I'm me. I'm a living, thinking being with free will, and I'm everything in the world. But I started thinking about the media being censored and them not allowing you to block certain media and stuff. And I started seeing this stuff, how it's being invented around me. So I started thinking like, hey, I'm going to start like reinventing the world so fast that like they're going to have to it's going to look totally, bad shit crazy. And this was 2020 when this happened, just so you guys know. This is 2020 when I started thinking this. And for a large portion there, it did go batshit crazy. And it's been that way since then, hasn't it? So, but I was like, okay, so, if we're going to play these games, then I'm just going to reinvent the world and reinvent myself and reinvent my thoughts repeatedly and redevelop the world around me and redevelop new scenarios and new propositions and see like what happens. And I started to notice like they lock the media down more and stuff, and they're feeding me like the old cycle over and over, and like the cycles are kind of like sometimes like my thoughts coming out, and I'm like, okay, so now they can't keep up with my thoughts. And I've done this in several methods too, where I've watched like, okay, so if I'm being blamed for inventing the world around me, and it seriously looks like I can invent stuff with my mind, then I'm going to turn this crazy carousel. I'm going to turn this little carousel into like a lightning fast anti-gravity ride. They're just going to turn the carousel so fast that the bearings on it break and everyone flies off the ride. And it still makes me wonder to this day, every time I see this, how I'm forced like 6-7 things. They can't keep up with a new agenda, can they? Like it's perfectly in line with this. They can't keep up with a new agenda, a new thought pattern, a new change in revolution and in thought and revelation. But every now and then they can still do something to try to convince me stuff's coming out of my head and my thoughts are inventing the world around me. But I'm thinking at this point, like the censorship is not just because it's like a failed empire who needs to like isolate itself and censor everything, so everyone only gets the proper oceanic newsprint coming out. But it feels like they're not allowing like it to be like rapidly progressed and just look like some ultimate form of crazy. I mean, it really, anyone who has a thought can like think that it's been looking pretty crazy since 2020. So that alone was enough, and like I've been pushing it since 2020 too. Like this is the whole reason here. It's because it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna say this nonsense, I mean, I can invent the world with my mind. If you're gonna show me this nonsense, I can invent the world with my mind. then I'm going to show you that you can't keep up with my mind. And that's really what it's boiled down to. Like, sure, of course, according to the storyline, they've cut off the media because, it's over. It's over, and they have to isolate and shut everything down, and you're not allowed to have anything. The Chinese media allowed on YouTube is stationed in Washington D.C. and magically they don't have a Chinese person narrating it. They just post pictures of stuff, not even have a bot, because the bots are so obvious who it is. But I've been trying to like rapidly change it over and over, and it kind of keeps up. Like some of it does. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that supposedly keeps up, but I was thinking that it'd be a lot more crazy if it could keep up, and maybe just that's the only reason why they have to censor the media so heavily, is because of the fact that I'm altering the world so fast and rapidly that they can't even formulate a proper plot line, a proper storyline. And I don't think the game is actually like designed for that too. But that's the whole point of it, is once I started seeing this stuff, I was like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to we're going to throw the Nintendo out the window. That's an old saying I have from when I was a kid. When we threw the Nintendo out the closed window, we just throw it out there and it's gone. And so that's what I've been trying to do since 2020. And so it can't do that. It can't keep up with it. Whatever it is, whether it's like a pre-programmed system around us, or whether they can add like downloadable content every now and then, or both, because obviously if there's downloadable content, it's the previous thing. They can't make like the content change fast enough, and I kind of don't see why, because it looks really stupid since 2020. I mean, it would make no sense to individual thought what's been going on. But I think the system just can't keep up. They can't produce like whatever it is outside the earth. Like the programmers working on the software, like they probably only got like 2 people working on patches and bug fixes every now and then, and the DLC content is probably like scheduled, like 2020 technically was like written, it was going to happen and all this stuff. So it's like a progression in the game's storyline. So we progress further into the storyline instead of just sitting around and eating tacos all day and watching TV. We progress into the final stages, they call it, the final days and stuff like that. But how much can you alter that if you're actually like being told you're the one in control of it first, the people actually like programming the system? And I think I've figured that out. Is part of this is that they can't produce the content fast enough as I'm trying to change the plot line. And I know, like, obviously if I'm correct about this, then there's probably no one who can understand this. And I mean, they send the crackheads to me and stuff, and even the crackheads who I thought were in control, like, they don't seem to understand anything. The guy one tell me the other day, like, that's not what's happening. And it's like, oh, well, it sure looks like that's what's happening. But I had a couple of them tell me that. I had one tell me I was like, I didn't see what I seen and all this stuff, and I didn't go visit these places and see stuff. And it's like, okay, whatever. So I've successfully, if I'm correct, I've successfully surpassed the programming and advanced beyond it. And I mean, it's got to be a shit show, because in order to make it all way out of hand and not be able to fit together, you got to make up some crazy stuff. And then, so it's got to all like be at the point where it's just like 10 trains going down the same track, all about to ram into each other. And then you're like out there like, hey, like, look, there's this other train track over here, but you really didn't build a train track. And and you just built an explosive stockpile and stuff, and you're like, come over here, conductors and stuff, and then you're like, oh, you think those look like explosives? Come on, those aren't explosives. Come over here and drink some of this good Kool-Aid I got for you, made by Jim Jones brand Kool-Aid and stuff. Drink some of that stuff. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that could be poison. It's named after Jim Jones. Like, oh, but what I've got over here is I got blankets. The blanket's going to keep you warm. Come check it out. And then over here I've got these camps you can come stay in. And then there's free gas for you to, it'll keep you alive better than oxygen. I've just set up all these pitfalls, and they can't keep up with it. And they're trying to like blame me for all this stuff. So it's like I'm like trying to literally introduce all this crazy nonsense to it. So if I'm in control here, it's just going to be extreme crazy stuff that literally is like 10 trains going down the same track towards each other, and then boom, like we're going to get to the end of the situation, right? We're going to get to whatever's lane, whatever they've been storing in the train cars and the cabooses and the whatever. We're going to have the families of the train engineers come out and cry, and then the explosive stockpile over there to the side is going to go off, and then so we're going to get to the bottom of this eventually. What's going on? Whatever they're saying, they want to blame me for stuff, then I will try my best to push it forward in the best possible way I can to throw the Nintendo out the window.